Here's my cat, my one-eyed cat. Here he comes messing all up. You probably jump on the table, but if you get excited, he'll know and he might bite you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. I mean, might.
You want my cat's pretty sassy too, and he doesn't. It takes a long time for him to warm up to new people.
Yeah,
like a long time. And one of my friends was over a couple of weeks ago, and my cat was cool with him for maybe an hour, and then he pet him the wrong way, and he didn't bite him, but he let him know. He started going and
get excited. Yeah, with this one, so he's a male, and we have an old female cat upstairs, and she's so afraid of him. He doesn't do much, but want to play because he's so much younger, and he just stands by her. She just screams at him, and he's so hyper, wants to play. And whenever he comes over, I'll pet him, but he just fucking bites me. Or I'll hold him. He'll be all cool and cuddly, just bite my arm. I'm like, all right, dude, just. If you just sort of pushed his direction, I want to go this way, I just let you go.
Yeah,
but he just bites.
I think that's the funny thing about cats is how dogs can be temperamental to an extent, but cats are almost bipolar. Yeah. Sometimes with what they want and they need. Sometimes they'll be real affectionate, and then on a flip of a dime they'll and
no warning.
Yeah, they're just. Scratching shit.
Snap at you.
Yeah.
And he walks around. He runs this fucking place. We got him just in the beginning of December. He was an outdoor cat. He just started coming around, and the neighbors behind us, they were feeding him. I don't know why, but he kept coming to our house, and so we started feeding him. And then they're we seen him go to her house, and my wife and I were we fucking love that cat. We just want it. And she's like, "Are you guys gonna have it?" I was like, okay, cool. So we took it in, thinking it'd be cool, because we've taken in other cats before that were, it was fine, but he's fucking crazy. It's not aggressive towards me or my kids, but it's he just runs shit. I think he's really feral. I don't know. I don't know what even feral means. I just know he's been outside a long time. He has to be because the way he acts.
Yeah.
So he has one eye, and the vet said it was he was surgically removed. It's all healed properly. So somebody had him before, and he's also what's it called when they don't have their balls anymore? It's either neutered or
when they're neutered. Oh, yeah. Okay. Spayed would be female.
Okay, yes, I don't know the difference, but I was okay, somebody had him at one point.
That's weird. I wonder. It's kind of sad that you just. Hopefully, it wasn't a case where someone straight up abandoned him, and that was maybe he just got loose and never made his way back home or something like that.
Yeah. So. I mean, it's pretty cool. He knew what a litter box and shit was right away.
Okay, so then he was definitely domesticated to some extent. So.
But he's fucking crazy. I love him. They're this cat's nuts, dude. Let's let his ass out. One eye scares everybody. He's the governor we call him.
He looks like he's been through some shit, for real.
Yeah, he don't fuck around. I mean, whatever. I like him. He's nice. He's still coming around. He won't sit on the couch with us. Yet. Sometimes he'll come by us and. We'll pet him and they just go away. I'm all right. That's enough affection for me.
Yeah, he's not in the mood for it. My cat's the same way with a lot. I mean, he's a little bit. He shows me a little bit more affection. Well, he shows my wife a fair amount of affection too, but he'll definitely have his moods where he'll get all cuddly, and then he gets up and he's over it, and you can't force him to do it anymore. He is done. He's gonna go off into the basement and hide for about 6 hours, and you're not gonna see him for the rest of the day.
I love them. Cats are fun, but this isn't the cat podcast. This is a hardcore podcast about you, Kenny.
Awesome.
So, I mean, I remember I used to go to punk shows and shit, but I remember one of the first shows I ever seen you at was you probably remember the old Refuge skate shop. It was Righteous Jams.
Oh, the Telegraph location?
Yeah. Awesome. Ambush play. Remember Ambush?
Yeah, that was Ambush's. That might have ended up being Ambush's last show because they only played 4 times. Yeah, I think that was their last show, and they played 4 shows. They're all at Refuge. I remember the crowd for that show being kind of not really split, but a lot of people left early because I think maybe I might have my shows mixed up. I'm pretty sure it was the same night. It's All Gone to Hell was playing the same night at Alvin's.
Oh, okay.
I think, and I didn't go to the show because I was like, they'll play again. It was the first time they'd played in a while, I think. I was like, all right, they'll play again. And I'm not sure they ever played a show after that. They might have played one more time after that at Alvin's, like in '05.
With Kill Everyone and Tyrant, I believe.
Okay, then yeah, I did see him one time after that. But yeah, I remember a fair amount of kids, like a lot of kids were still there for Righteous Chance, but a lot of kids end up leaving because they're just like, people that might have been friends with Ambush or I can't remember who else. Maybe I think Razzle Dazzle.
Razzle Dazzle and Detroit Birds even maybe.
Yeah, Detroit Birds played that show. I think it might have been their first show, but they wanted to see like I think Razzle Dazzle and Ambush, and then they bounced. But yeah, that show was fun. That old Refuge location was pretty cool because of how just Eric had that small part in the back where he actually used to, I think, print like T-shirts and stuff, and he'd clear it out for the shows.
It looked like a loading garage or something.
Yeah, that's what it was. But I think it got to a point where he could. That's one of the reasons why he wanted to get the bigger location when he moved to Michigan Avenue. Is because he wanted to have his T-shirt press and still have enough stock, but also his inventory just got too big. But it was definitely a special time, like 04, 05, when he had that old location. Mental played there a couple times. Those shows were awesome.
Outbreak, I believe.
That was the first show I went. That was Ambush's first show. 3-band bill. The show was over in like less than 2 hours.
Right, because they played 1,000 songs in 5 minutes.
Well, no, and that's the thing. The first Ambush only had like I think 4 or 5 songs. Their set was like maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And there was like I don't know if them and Let Die shared gear or what, but it was one band after the other, and the show started at 8 and was done by like 9:30. And it was cool. It's just like, oh, and I remember it being on weeknights. It was like, all right, everyone can go home and get to bed early and everything.
Either go to school or to work. Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
And I wish more shows were like that. That's the one thing I used. I think Refuge and Eric have always been pretty good on it. I think maybe it might speak to Eric being a little bit older gentleman. I'm an older gentleman myself, but Eric's a bit older. Is that he's always been about having shows done at a certain time and having them done as quick as possible because he wants to get to bed, and he knows a lot of other people do too. And I wish there was more shows at Refuge. Obviously, with pandemic happened, they kind of put a stop to it, and obviously more recently, Sanctuary's become like the spot, so then I think it's cool to have like a more streamlined location as far as hardcore shows as well. Sorry, I kind of detoured off there. Just
no, that's great.
It's just I have a big affection for a lot of those shows that any of the Refuge locations.
Yeah, because I only been to the old one. That was like one of the first like shows, like hardcore shows, I guess. I mean, I seen like Bleeding Through and maybe like Unearth and shit.
Okay, so like bigger shit at the shelter.
Yeah. So I've been or like a local Quit Your Life show. Remember that band?
Yeah.
So
like something like Don Polsky's
exactly. Like loser shit.
What was there a cafe in like downtown Wyandotte that Quit Your Life used to play at or something like that?
Yeah, it was like a coffee shop. What was it called? This is band from like Good Cop Bad Cop used to play there. I forgot what it was called, but it was like a cafe of some sort.
Was it The Grind? Did they play The Grind? No,
I think that was
too
like nerdy. Oh, but it was. I forgot what it was called, but they used to play there because they would do like there's like open mic like shows and like there.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like different days. I forgot what it was called, but I seen them there a couple times. But
I remember they played Don Polsky's back when it was Don Polsky's, and it's now gone through like 500 other different names at this point.
Rookies now.
Is it okay? What was it? Grizzlies a year ago? Less than a year ago.
Wind Up Bears, bro. So stupid. But so those are the shows that I was used to. And then even for like Ambush and Razzle Dazzle, it was like a different like type
we
of
should
mosh.
Probably make it clear that there's a bigger Ambush band that started after this. There was a local Detroit Ambush that a lot of people might not be aware of. They were only a band for like 6 months, half a year. They only played a handful of shows.
They even had a 7-inch, so I remember that.
Yes, they had the demo 7-inch that a few of our friends from Flint ended up putting out.
If anybody has it, fucking tell me and somehow get it to me.
I don't know where my copies are. I had like 3 different copies of that, and
a little rhino on it, I think.
Yeah. Those are all gone. I have no idea. I'm sure there some probably in my mom's basement somewhere. Yeah, I haven't been able to keep tabs on a lot of stuff like that. I'm sure I traded one for some other record or something
Ah,
like that.
fuck. We have to
But
find it one day. Somebody's got it.
yeah,
I know. Next Z has to have one. Is
I would be surprised. He's probably gonna get mad at us even mentioning this band. Probably he's
never.
probably hoping to bury that, just like I kind of want to bury Retribution at some point.
So we're here to talk about Retribution. Can't forget about Retribution. And no, but see what I was getting at is I was gonna say that's like the first show I ever seen you, and it seemed like every show I went to after that was like you were the first person that I noticed that was always there. Like you know how like people like become familiar, you know, like oh yeah that guy was at that show or he was Mosh, and it's like I always seen you at every show I ever went to after that. I was like, there's that fucking guy.
Well, I literally like that. You know, in my late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, that kind of was just what I did. You know, I you know I it was I was single. I didn't have a girlfriend. I just loved seeing bands, and you know any money that I made kind of just went towards like going to see more and more bands, or maybe buying merch, or going out of town and seeing bands in Cleveland or Toronto, Chicago, whatever. And hardcore was like the number one goal. You know, uh, in my late teens and early 20s. I know those shows were cool, and people you said a lot. That's a lot of people's first impression of me that I've heard is like they would see me at every single show, and it didn't matter like what subgenre of hardcore it was, or
Yeah,
whether it was a youth crew band, a beatdown band, metalcore, whatever. They always saw me, and just like, well, yeah, because I like all these bands, and this is what I like to do.
yeah. I was like, how the fuck's he get around, man? You know, it's like
Well, okay,
well, I'm here, so he's here. So
fair
it's not
amount.
weird, you know.
Meeting Ramona when I was like 18 helped a lot, and interning like for her kind of Live Nation and everything, and
Oh,
when she
okay.
was running the shelter, and uh, even like doing like little promo things for her when she moved to Alvin's and everything. Uh, that helped because Ramona would put me on guest lists all the time, so
Mm-hmm.
that like that's how I even got to go to even more shit. Is that like if I didn't have to worry about paying it because Ramona would always hook me up. Bless her heart. And because I would pass out flyers or put up posters, and I would do all this legwork just to get in the shows, and that definitely helped with like being able to go to so many things.
Fuck yeah. Fuck, how many shows do you think you've been to?
Oh, I have no. I remember at one point in my 20s, I think I was averaging at least 200 a year. It was somewhere along there. Well, I mean, it also depends on what you count as a show. Like there'd be like concerts, like bigger shit that I didn't want to go to, but because like Ramona or whoever her bosses were needed someone to like pass out flyers outside of them, I would
Yeah,
I would still go. It'd be
fuck
like
it.
Mudvayne, which I full disclosure, I love old ass Mudvayne. Uh but Mudvayne would play like the Fillmore or something, and I'd go
Mm-hmm.
flyer at shows like that and stuff like that. Uh
So, I mean, I always thought you were like, you know, like, not too much older than me either.
well,
When did you
how
start?
old is it? There's only like 5 years between us. What year were you born? 89.
No, 87.
Oh, then there's even less years. We're only I'm only 3 years older than you.
Okay, so I just thought you were way older.
I thought it was too. I thought it was like a good 5 or 6 years older than you.
Yeah, and for some reason, I don't know who used to say it, but I think it was Don Armstrong. He used to call you like Papa Hardcore or something like that.
Well,
They
and
call
the
you
thing, I'm
Dad, they
only
call
a
you Dad.
year older than Don.
They
I'm
call you
only a
Dad.
year older than him. Like it's only because the thing is I looked so much older because I had a beard since I was like 17, 18 years old. And I started balding really quickly too, so it aged me really quickly. So everyone already assumed I was like deep into my 30s when I was like 22, which was not the case. Everyone thought I was like,
I thought
oh
you were so much older than me.
no,
till
everyone's
just
like,
now.
oh yeah, you saw Cold as Life like all these times back. Like people think I was at that for sure. I was not. I don't know what year that was, but I'm pretty sure I was probably in junior high.
Yeah, it was 98.
Okay, yeah, I was still.
Yeah.
I was. Or it was either eighth or grade or freshman year of high school, which I know a lot of kids do get into hardcore at those ages. I was still very metal
Okay.
at that point. Like my musical journey had really just begun at that point. It took me till about 16, 17 years old until I was like into hardcore.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, people always think like I'm like Lenny's age or Eric Z's age, and no, those guys got quite a bit on me still. Like there's a bit of an age gap. I just poor genetics or whatever.
Poor genetics.
I don't know what it. Well, it's for real. Like this is going a little off topic from hardcore, but just real quick interjection. I've seen pictures of my grandfather when he was in his early 20s, already bald, like already like little like patch here, and just like, oh, okay, so that's where it came from. That's what kind of fucked me.
Yeah, my dad was bald. I'm fucking bald. I'm not all the way bald, but pretty bad.
Yeah, that.
But yeah, same shit genetics, obviously. Like lucky me. But yeah, I mean, you're always good impression of you too. Like I don't even know when we started like talking. I never hung out with you outside of a show, I don't think. But
from my recollection, I think Danny Albright introduced me to you and Randy at the same time.
I was always with Randy at that time. Yeah.
It was been like 04, 05-ish. I'm pretty. It had to be at an Alvin show. That's my recollection, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's like the only like the spot for like. Well, for me, it's either that or the Magic Stick, and it was pretty much always Alvin, especially when Ramona was running shit.
Before 2006, I mean, there'd be certain things that would be at the Stick, but the majority from like late 03, early 04, all the way through all of 05, almost all Ramona's stuff was at Alvin's. There'd be certain things, little things here and there, where if Alvin's already had something else booked, she would do the Hayloft instead. Mm-hmm. She did that for a while, which I was not the biggest fan. Far. Like, and that's the thing, I never had a problem driving to Mount Clemens. It just that the venue never felt like home. It never felt like home the way that Alvin's does or that the Stick does.
Yeah, for sure. I know exactly what you're saying.
So it never felt like it was ours. It always felt like we were occupying space in someone else's home.
Yeah, exactly, like an away team.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we doing here, like
exactly.
And I mean, shit always popped off there still, but it's like I always felt like a little uncomfortable. Like,
yeah,
I don't know security here. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen if I do something stupid.
And I think that's the thing with a place like Alvin's at that time. Most of the security and the bartenders they were all punkers anyways. Mm-hmm. They're all in the punk rock, hardcore, emo. They were into the scene.
Yeah.
So they got it.
They put up with the antics.
Yeah. To as much as possible. I mean, I'm sure there was times over there that we not us per se, but people that we know and people that we're friends with probably went a little bit too far. But I mean, that's just I guess how it was the nature of the beast,
Yeah. And that was an era or like a time when shit was crazy. And that was like my first when I started like really paying attention instead of just like going to shows, I'm like fucking looking at all these people around me. I was like, these are all fucking maniacs. Like they're scary, especially like 17, 18, like 25, 30, 35-year-old dudes just fucking going crazy. And I'm like, I'm out here like mosh. I'm like trying not to get knocked out. You buy a fucking bar stool.
See, and that's the thing. It got to the point where like me, when I first started going to the shows, I saw a little bit of that and it kind of jilted me. But after being into it for so long, it just became the norm. Now, thinking back on it, being a bit older than I am now, it's like, man, a lot of my friends were really fucking crazy. Like, did some crazy shit to each other, to other people. It's shit that I don't... Very rarely will we ever see again. As far as, like, people throwing trash cans or mic stands, whatever, big ass, just gigantic brawls happening for no reason.
Yeah, just there's a new guy at a show.
Yeah,
so everyone's gonna fucking
people getting thrown down the staircase at Alvin's or the Stick.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen people get thrown down both stairs.
Awful, absolutely awful. People getting thrown across the pool table at Alvin's and stuff like that.
Crazy shit.
Like people starting fights when people are just trying to play a game of CeeLo on the pool table at Alvin's. People losing their shoes during dice games at Alvin's.
Fuck, they have to. Well, the only one I know at least is Danny Albright for sure.
Yeah, I've heard that story. Yeah. I wasn't there for that, but I've heard that story multiple times. Was that at Alvin's or was that just at a party?
It was either Alvin's or in fucking Port Huron at that Nora
That
Grotto
sounds
place.
right. That
Yeah,
maybe that's what it is. No, because I think me and do you know Jimmy Glaros?
yeah.
Him and I had the conversation about it because Jimmy was at that show. I wasn't. It was. I only went out to the Grotto so many times.
Mhm.
Another crazy ass place.
Oh, yeah, anything goes. Yeah. Shit.
But yeah, I remember hearing that story about. I think Danny bet all his money and his shoes, and then someone else have to pay for him to actually get into the show or something.
Dude, everybody paid for Danny to get shows. He'd have money in his pocket. Like, can you just pay for me? I'm like, for what, you motherfucker? Like, why am I paying
See, and
for
that's
you?
the thing because he was so young at the time, and he had that charm about him, and
Yeah.
he just had that little smile, and you're like,
Please?
okay, fine,
Like,
yeah,
he's so annoying. Yeah. Rest in peace, Danny.
yeah.
I still think about the little fucker.
I wonder how many people he's finessed out of like show money. Right here, like
Yeah, for me,
guilty,
for sure,
like
a shirt. Like, I have $8 and it's 15. Like, I guess I'll give you my.
you want to know what? Instead of buying him shirts, because like I was getting fat on a daily basis, even though the shirts were too big for him, like I'd have like larges I couldn't fit into because I had to be in an XL. I'd be like, how about I will just give you my hand me downs instead, even though they won't fit you because you're like 120 pounds.
All stretched out.
Yeah.
It's a little hang time in the back, you know.
Yep.
I hate when my shirts do that. Oh, they just hang out in the back.
Mine all hanging on the front because of how big my gut keeps getting.
Yeah, dude. Same. But it's fun. That's why I started this podcast. Talk to people like you because I like going back in time. I know shit's like cool and fun now, but everybody's got their glory days.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I like talking about, and just how I met certain people or like influences. Like I couldn't tell you how many times you probably hand me a flyer that there's a band I never heard of on there,
Yep.
or even just walking outside of Alvin's and along the wall, all the flyers because of you putting them up or fucking Ramona putting them
Yep.
up, and then
I used to love that window where it would just be posters on posters in the front window.
Yeah.
And I love that because you would just be hanging out and like Ramona might not have formally announced like a show was happening yet, but she'd already had the poster up in the window at Alvin's, and you would go to a show at Alvin's, and then you would see a poster for a new show that you weren't aware of yet, and you'd be stoked all over again. And that was great about that place.
yeah, or you'd get like a printed flyer, but it would have like 8 or 10 shows for like the summer.
The
on
strips,
it.
I
Yeah.
love the strip flyers. That was and here's the one thing I'm sure there's other people that might do this. I hope there's other people that did this. I wish I would have collected those. I'm mad at myself that I didn't. Considering how many I would have in my hand
Yeah.
at any given time, I'm sad that I didn't like put like random ones in like shoe boxes and stuff like that to keep as mementos, because I'm sure if we went back and saw some of those lineups, they would be mind blowing to us, and they'd probably be especially mind blowing to like younger kids.
Oh yeah.
It'd be
Well,
like
look, see, these are the only 2 I have from Alvin's.
the
the
Shared
Hoods
Robin
one.
Hoods one.
Yeah, this was the same show, but they just had 2 flyers because they both had.
Well, that was like the eulogy tour, wasn't it? It was all eulogy bands. Okay, I remember that
the
tour.
Street Brutality tour, Shattered Realm, Black My Heart, Donnybrook, Hoods, and I think Tyrant played it too.
Yeah, but the thing is, what sucked is I'm pretty sure I got to that show late because I ended up missing Tyrant and Black My Heart. I only got to see Black My Heart the one time when they played at the Warren Knights of Columbus.
Oh, Knights of Columbus, no.
Yeah, at Nine and Mound.
I didn't see him there. I only seen him there one time.
It was
Grateful.
them and Let It Die played at the Knights of Columbus in Warren. That show was ridiculous.
Was it
like,
before or after this?
It's after that.
Okay.
It was when Let It Die was winding it down the first time
How
around.
the
So
fuck I missed that?
2005-ish, 06 maybe.
Son of a bitch.
But yeah, it was one of Let It Die's like it was one of the last shows they played on their last run through.
Mm-hmm.
Before they broke up until like the 2011 reunion. That show was bonkers. Fights, people just losing their shit to not just Black My Heart or Let It Die, but I don't even remember who all the other bands that played it, but
Probably Bishop or something.
I don't think there's another touring band. I think it was everyone else was locals, but people were losing their shit the entire night. And that show was so stupid. I don't think there's been another show at that Knights of Columbus since because they were so sick of our shit.
Fuck, man. Yeah. I remember one of the craziest shows I ever seen fucking Let It Die. It was in the wintertime. It wasn't even around here. I don't know where it was. could have been Port Huron, but maybe like as like a Legion or something.
Okay.
You were probably there. I remember it was like a crazy pit, blah blah blah, and somebody somehow a spare tire like ended up like inside the
I don't think
place.
I was at that show, but that sounds fucking. No, yeah, because I'm pretty sure any Port Huron show I went to was pretty much at the Grotto, from my
Okay.
recollection.
No, no, yeah. So this was for sure in Port Huron because was surprised to see all like the Toledo people, like Mickey and all those people, and his name was Adam. That was a, and before I knew like Pearson, like the Strength and Honor
Yeah, well,
guys.
those dudes would always go everywhere.
Yeah.
Like all those Toledo kids, even though there was not a lot of shows in Toledo at that time, so they did not give a fuck about coming to Detroit, going to Port Huron, Lansing, Ann Arbor, wherever. Like they would go anywhere because there'd be like something at like maybe Frankie's every once in a while, or Headliners.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
Headliners with more
headliners.
bullshit, but it would be only every so often. It wasn't how maybe Frankie's got the last couple years before the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
or how Alwa Tavern is now. So those dudes, the closest shows they could come to was Detroit
Yeah,
or Michigan. They were up here. They were at shows pretty much as often as I was, which
yeah.
was awesome.
But at that time too, it was probably at least once a week for like 2 years. It seemed like there's a show, like a hardcore show, like once,
Oh,
twice a week,
yeah.
maybe, like 4 or 5 times a month at least. Like what the fuck?
Well, I felt like you'd have at least one every weekend. It seemed like uh, Friday or Saturday night, or both nights in a row, and then at least every other week there'd be one in the middle of the week as well,
It's
like on a Tuesday
crazy.
or Wednesday night. Uh, it's kind of crazy, like how often shows happen back then. But I feel like it has slowed down to an extent. Even pre-pandemic, I feel like it was slowing down a
Hmm.
little bit, which is cool because it doesn't hurt my wallet
Yeah,
as
exactly.
much, especially with like how the prices of shows has gone up because inflation goes up, so bands need more money for gas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and music is free now, so
Pretty
it's not like
much,
you're buying
yeah.
CDs and
I
shit.
I
Yeah,
pay $15 a month for my Spotify or
yeah.
whatever, and or where I still buy. I make sure if I really really love a band, I
Vinyl or
usually buy the
something.
vinyl. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know where we were going talking about the old bands and shit. But what I got for you, I wrote some shit down. Oh yeah, this ain't a bad question. Like it's like, well, when was your first like hardcore show? You said you went like metal and shit. Or, like,
my
were you in
first.
there the coldest life days?
No. I literally just missed that. I was thinking about this earlier because I had a feeling you were going to ask me about
Yeah,
this.
of course.
I just missed out on like Coldest Lives. But see, that's the thing. I don't know if they had any breakups prior to this, but the last run they did with Jeff, which I think ended in 2001, I just missed that,
Oh
like by
shit.
like months, pretty much. Because I would go to I would see Hatebreed play on like metal shows. That was kind of like my introduction to hardcore. Uh, but I had never gone to like a straight up hardcore show until they played the Shelter, I think in summer of 2001, and
Fuck.
it was an off day for Ozfest. I ended up seeing Hatebreed I think 2 days in a row because I saw them at the Shelter, and the
Holy
next day
shit.
they played Ozfest at Pine Knob.
Yeah.
Uh,
For the record, the shelter is what, like 250, 350 max.
that's what it was listed as. Let's be real, they were packing 400 people in there sometimes.
It's hot
Uh,
as fuck. Terrible.
God, that show was disgusting. It was the middle. I think it was like July 25th, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And like people that might go to the Shelter now. The Shelter now has actual like climate control and stuff like that. And back then, it sure as fuck did not. Uh, but yeah, that was like my first introduction because they end up, even though it was an off date from Ozfest, E Town Concrete played that show. Sworn Enemy played that show.
Fuck.
Uh,
Holy shit.
I'm trying to remember who else was on that show. I don't remember much about that show. This is like my age game to me. I try to retain as much as possible. Uh, Other than it just being really disgustingly hot because it was the end of July, beginning of August. But that was like my first introduction. That's when I realized that there was something different about those bands where they weren't
Mm-hmm.
exactly a metal band. Uh, and not only that, like buying Satisfaction is the Death of Desire on the CD and seeing that this label Victory Records put it out, and I didn't know what Victory was. I didn't know that my knowledge of like metal or labels was like
Roadrunner.
Roadrunner or
Yeah.
Metal Blade or something like that. And it's like, oh, I've never heard of Victory. And back then, the Victory CDs would come like a small little mini catalog, and you would see like ads in there for or merch for like Strife, Blood for Blood, Integrity. And I'd never heard of these bands. But then I would see Hatebreed, and Hatebreed would be wearing shirts. They'd be wearing like a Bloodlet shirt or an Integrity shirt or whatever. I'm just like, oh, I've never heard of that band before. Like that's, you know, the guys from Slipknot haven't worn those, they don't haven't said anything about those bands. So I had no knowledge. So I would go and I'd seek out, man, I wonder what Integrity sounds like. And this was back in like the Kazaa, LimeWire, Napster days, where I had a 56K dial-up modem, and I could only download one song at a time.
PTSD. Yeah.
So I would type in the band's name, whatever song title sounded the coolest to me. I would download that single song to see if I wanted to fuck with the band any further than that.
And take all day to download the rest.
Yeah, I like my friends that had a lot more money than my family did that actually had DSL were able to actually download full albums and all that stuff. I'm just like, no, I was literally downloading like one song an hour. But I would do that, and then because I didn't want to waste time downloading whole albums, if I liked the band enough, I'd go find the CD, and then I'd bring the CD onto my computer. But that's how that was like my introduction, and that happened like either right after Cold as Life ended that run in 2001, and I want to say because as far as I know, I think their last show around them was like May of that year, and that Hatebreed show would have been in July.
Okay, so but just missed it.
Just missed it. But I would see people with Cold as Life merch at shows on and stuff like that, and you'd see the scary ass Pitbull with the Detroit D on the back and all that, and it's just like, oh, this is a local band that sounds like this, and that was kind of cool. And even though I missed them, I remember the first Cold's Life song I checked out was Ski Mask at 45, and fucking rocked my world. And it made me upset that a band this cool had been in my backyard the entire time, and I didn't know it because I was listening to all this bigger stupid shit at Ozfest. Not, I wouldn't say stupid shit because it's still cool shit.
Introductory type.
But it's like, to me, like the underground was like Slipknot, to me, I thought that was like some weird, really obscure shit. They're
Factory.
Yeah, big one. And even though they're playing in front of like at least 2,000 people a night or 20,000 at Ozfest or whatever it is, but that was also like my thing where it's like, all right, people at hardcore shows mosh different. They're punching and kicking and doing karate moves, and actually that kind of looks cooler than people just pushing each other.
Yeah,
and it looks more like it has more of a style than just a push to it or anything like that.
And they're drunk bums.
Yeah, and there was definitely more of like, you didn't have like a lot of corniness that I guess gets associated with like new metal and metal as well. Hardcore was more real. It was guys just getting up there and wearing their street clothes and playing.
Yeah.
They didn't have guitar techs or a big crew or anything like that. It was just the band and their amps, and I'd go to these smaller shows and there'd be no barricade and people are stage diving and all this wild shit. So that was kind of like my introduction into getting into hardcore.
Yeah, fuck, man. Well, that's a good time anyway. Shit was popping.
Yeah, and that's the thing, but it's still like when I see that, it's like it makes me sad that like just a few years if I would, it sucked, like, because growing up I didn't have any friends that were into like hardcore punk metal or anything like that. All my friends were in the rap. Like all my childhood friends, when we got into our teens and 8th grade, whatever, they all exclusively listened to rap. I was the weird one that was like the alt kid that liked all these crazy like borderline satanic whatever. And
I heard you grew up in the hood.
Well, and that thing, I grew up in Southwest Detroit. Yeah. Like I didn't grow. I live in the suburbs now. I live in Downriver, but I grew up in Southwest Detroit. So, obviously a lot of my friends were more predisposition to being to, I guess, more urban style of music. Which this is the knock on rap. I do like rap to a certain extent.
Yeah, just what you're exposed to in that area.
But at that time when I was 12, 13, 14, I was like metal kid, or faster punk bands, and that was kind of what it is, which was also the cool thing about hardcore. It was kind of this melting pot where it was a little bit metal, a little bit punk, but it's kind of its own thing, and a little bit separate from those two genres at the same time.
Yeah. Fuck, man. In just a second. I really got to send a text, so you got to wait a second. I was like, fuck, this dude texted me. So, but yeah, like that show, like The Coldest Life, Blood for Blood, All Out War, One for One, and Dogs of War. Like, that's a fucking great show.
That's
majestic.
like thinking about that show sounds insane, like absolutely like insane.
Let's go ahead and keep talking if you can. Either pause or not. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of sad. Like I missed out on the boat on a few things, but I'm also glad that I'm at the age where I got to see a lot of cool shit that I'm now realizing is cool, because younger kids will be like, "Hey, did you see this band? This band?" And I disregarded just like a normal thing, because to me it wasn't. It was just like, "That's fucking sick that you saw whatever in 2003," and I'm like, "That's just a show. It was a $10 show."
Yeah, right. Like the 10 for 10. Remember that thing that came through?
That was cool. I'm bummed that they didn't do more tours. Like, I get that. Like, I don't think that with band guarantees. Yeah, with band guarantees and everything, I don't think it was sustainable for them to probably do another one. Especially with even the lineup that they did pull off. I'm sure those bands. Oh, who knows? Maybe those bands made money back on merch from kids saving money on tickets. But I think it'd be cool if like bands would put something like that together now. Like, I don't think the bands that were on that lineup that were as big as that lineup had would ever do anything like that again, but maybe like more like mid-level kind of hardcore bands or something like that.
Yeah, but now even seems like the fests are more and more popular these days. So I mean, if there's gonna be a banger of a show, it's probably gonna be a fucking fest. And
yeah, I definitely see that.
It's not that expensive to go to like a out of state show. I mean, it sucks if you're like a teenager, but for me, I'm like, I can finally afford this shit. I'm going,
Well, and that thing is like I get to the point where I can afford it, but at the same time, it's also to the point of having more work commitments,
for sure,
having more home commitments and stuff. Even though I mean, I'm not a dad, but just financial commitments, like not wanting to take too much time off work, do stuff. Whereas like when in my 20s, I was just like, fuck it, let's go.
Don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't. When I didn't have a mortgage to pay off, or insurance, or all, you be a little bit more carefree, have a beater of a vehicle or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a honey bun. Get out of here. Get out of here. She's gonna come bother you. But like, I don't even know where we're going. But with shows, like I took quite a few years. I wouldn't say off, but I really, really cut back and going to shows. Maybe like 1, 2, 3 a year at the most. I go see like Terror and Hatebreed and shit like that. But the past, even before the pandemic, I started really going to shows again in like 2018. Like more than I did. There's like a break from like 2010 to like 2017, 2018, where I was like, just taking care of life. I already had 2 kids and shit.
Yeah.
So
that's like you had more commitments that definitely were more important than just going to see hardcore bands.
Yeah.
And I think that when people do have children, all have like that little kind of break where like, all right, my kid's way too young for me to leave at home. I gotta take a step back from doing this kind of cool shit. Maybe when my kids are older, or I can afford a babysitter more often, or what have you. Then you can go. I think that's just a very common thing with anyone that gets older.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but there's like a weird, like stupid, like guilt I had of like, man, I'm like, fuck. Like,
no,
I was like, I still want to go to these shows, but even like coming back, I'm like, I used to come so much and support everything, but I'm sorry, I'm back.
I feel like if anyone was to ever make someone feel guilty of that, that'd be a pretty shitty thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just weird. So like in my own head, I'm like, I'm fucking die hard, a hardcore fan for life, and I was like, I miss a few years. Not like I missed much. Bands still come fucking twice a year. Whatever I missed is still happening.
Yeah.
And whatever there's some bands that I'll fucking never see probably.
Really? Because everyone seems to do reunions, 5 to 10 years after they break up. So
yeah. The only thing it was like cold as life. Or sorry, well them two obviously, but I'm gonna say Blood for Blood. I never seen them.
Well, shit, I only got to see them there one time. Their last Detroit show was almost 20 years ago. It'll be 20 years ago, I think, this October.
Where was it at?
They played upstairs at St. Andrews. I wish would have been downstairs, but it was still cold. They played with Most Precious Blood and Terror. That might have been one of the first times Terror played Detroit. I know Terror played Ypsi a little bit before that. I think they played Muggs and Ypsilanti a little bit before that.
Now, was there a barricade then or no?
Yeah, it was weird. There was a barricade put up at the show, but security wasn't monitoring it. They were letting people go in behind the barricade and going up to the stage. It was one of the cool things. I don't understand why they didn't just take the fucking thing down. Because that used to be back in the day when St. Andrews, before they're already kind of corporate because Live Nation did already own them at the time, but they didn't monitor things as much as like the barricade and stuff. Like they would let, if a band requested they wanted the barricade down, they would honor it. Now you have insurance and liability and all that stuff where now the barricade is just permanently up. Like
we don't need this nonsense.
Like there's another show the following year, June of like 2003, Terror, Stretch Armstrong, Between the really mixed bill. I think it was Stretch Armstrong, Terror, Between the Buried and Me, and Out to Win, Mushmouth played upstairs, and it had a pretty good crowd, and there's no barricade. The bands requested it off, and people doing stage dives, people doing speaker dives at St. Andrews. That show was nuts.
There, but not that show.
Yeah.
Before Terror was Unearth, Black Dahlia Murder, Terror, and
that show.
Remembering Never.
That show was the same year, a few months later. That was that fall. I think that was fall of 03. The Stretch Armstrong show was, I think, June of 03. I want to say that.
Yeah, I think it was October for sure.
I remember being in the fall that show, which was funny because they took down the barricade, but the first couple of kids that actually staged up got kicked out. And then
there was a Spider-Man too that was at that show. Somebody dressed like fucking Spider-Man. Climb up on the speaker there, dude. That shit's wild.
Yeah, to think of like people like doing stage dives at St. Andrews or speaker dives and all that shit. Like, and it's that shit like you'll never see again with all the insurance and everything and all how touchy they are with like liability and everything. That'll never happen again.
Yeah, especially because you have to pay extra now to go up in the balcony. You know that's not even like free. You can't just go stand up there.
No, you have to pay. They caught on to like people getting older, and like because I was doing it for a while too. Where every show, if the balcony was open at St. Andrews, if the balcony was open, I'd make a beeline up to there because the sight lines are actually better. Like you don't have to be all crammed in down the main floor and everything. But you go upstairs and you can look at a band straight down at a pretty cool angle, and they caught on to it. So now they charge double the price whatever the general admission ticket is.
That's like VIP
for VIP.
Balcony.
Yeah, just like fuck you guys.
Jeez, free. No, yeah, it was nice, especially if you got hot. There's 5-6 bands there. Like it's so miserable in there sometimes. Like, dude. Another time, Hatebreed played at St. Andrews. I think it was Hate Inc. and Pitbull.
The Satisfaction full set. That was
when I did.
That's one of my favorite. I mean, obviously they played Satisfaction front to back, but that whole show and all together, the front to back lineup was incredible.
Like a 2-day notice too, though. Like that show that wasn't supposed to happen, probably an off day on.
They were on a bigger package tour. I don't know with who, but they had an off day. Ramona put it together. I'm pretty sure Ramona did it like super quick, like on like a day or two notice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just Hatebreed and all locals. But it was like that had only been like the second show Pitbull had played in like 10 years or something like that.
Yeah, because I never seen them. That was the only time I've seen them. And I really liked them. Fuck, I always have liked Pitbull. Yeah,
that show was a lot of fun. I don't think Pitbull played a show since then. I know they played either a year or two before that. They played a show at Alvin's when they did a record release show for their discography. And then I think they played that Hatebreed show. And I don't think they did a show since then. If they did, then I might be mistaken. But as far as I know, that was the last show Pitbull had played up to this point as well.
Yeah, well, because I did have it set up. Was the singer was his name Mike Starr? Is that the singer?
I don't remember his last name. Mike was his first name.
Yeah, because he was supposed to come over here like back in like May, and I don't know something. I don't know what happened. Either he canceled or I had to push it back. It just never happened. But I was like, fuck. There's so many people. There's so much history, and like in Detroit hardcore. I don't even know when they started. Probably late '80s, early '90s.
Pitbull, I want to say late '80s.
Yeah. So it's like for those dudes, even like Almighty Lumberjacks of Death. I talked to Jimmy Doom at the Call of His Life. Earth Mover, late '90s. I don't know. It's Tyrant, like early 2000s. Like, and then when Retribution start, Kenny?
2010.
It was that late?
2010.
Okay, because I think I only seen you guys maybe a couple times.
Yeah, we played a bunch of shows in a pretty short amount of time, and then we just kind of stopped. And we never ventured much outside of like Detroit. I think we actually the only two shows I would consider like us going out of town. We played Toledo a couple times and Saginaw a couple times, and that was it. Like that was the extent of us playing out of town. I wish we could have did a little bit more with it, but half the band had interests in other things. They were either involved with other bands or had other stuff going on, and it definitely wasn't, I guess, outside of myself, maybe a main focus for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed what we did with it. I really wish we would have did an LP, but we did a 7-inch, 2 demos, comp track. People, at least locally, received them pretty well. Like, I don't think we ever had, like, locally, we ever had a bad show. Even when we played, like, absolute dog shit, I don't think we ever had, like, necessarily a bad reaction for the most part.
So what was your first show? I know it was a crazy show. What was your guys' first show?
Oh my god, this is another testament to Ramona being an absolute sweetheart and one of the best people. She doesn't get enough credit for what she's done for
all behind the scenes, but she built the shit.
She does, and that's the thing. A lot of people might not know who she is because she's not maybe a big public face. She doesn't do. She's not like a press person or anything like that.
At the show she booked. Yeah.
She booked us with Terror. Yeah, sure. This is insane. Like, we didn't deserve this show, but Ramona, put us on it. It was Terror, Gravemaker, Foundation, and Naysayer, which is in 2010 is a humongous package tour. Any other local band would have killed to have that spot, and she gave it to us for our first show.
Jesus Christ.
She was working. My best friend Chris Spear was working for her at the time, just kind of as his assistant. And through her, he had gotten a hold of me and be like, "Hey, are you guys?" Because we had just recorded our demo not too long before that, and he's gonna be like, "Hey, I know you guys want to play a show soon. Do you guys think you'll be ready by June, whatever the date was?" And I'm like, "Well, we might be. Like, I would like to have like a few more songs written." And he's just like, "Well, Ramona wants to put you on with the Terror tour with Gravemaker and Foundation." I was just like, "Oh, we're playing it. Absolutely.
We'll figure it out."
Yeah, no, we'll be ready. And yeah, we had an awesome reaction. We put the demo out a few weeks before then, so people learned the words, and we had a few of our friends sing along, and people that hadn't learned the words were moshing, and it was definitely one of the coolest like first shows I think a band has had, just to have like that type of reaction. And literally the song's only been out for a couple weeks, and I think it definitely helped with everyone that I was in that band with was firmly entrenched within the scene as far as like being in other bands. Like, a few of our dudes were in Face Reality, a few of our dudes were in like Death Skin Razors. Afterwards they were in Freedom. So you had a bunch of other different friend groups all kinds of support this one band. So that's how it definitely led to us being as good as a reaction as we got.
Let's say like a local super group and just say that.
See, I don't like putting myself in that respect because
everybody knows you, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the thing is, I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything before then or
but
since
for you to be in a
band-wise.
band, everybody loves you, dude. That was crazy. It's like Kenny's a
See,
fucking
now you got me blushing over here, man.
the front man of this band, a good band at that. I never would have thought. I was like, Kenny's in a fucking band. I was like, he's singing for a band. It shocked me. I mean, you're always up front and shit, so it's not
Yeah.
crazy to see you
Well, and that's
jump
the
on the
thing.
stage or whatever.
I'd always wanted to be in a band, but I'm musically inept. Where like I can't play guitar. Like for some reason, these don't like to coordinate well as far as like playing a string instrument. Like I've given it a go here and there, and I just can't like I can't learn chords for a reason. And drumming doesn't get as much respect as it does because you're using all four of your limbs, and that even feels more intense to me, especially trying to do it fast and on time and all that stuff. So the only thing I could do was front a band, and somehow I was able to convince four other individuals to write a band with me and start a band with me and let me front it, and they were down, and you know it was what it was, and you know we had a good time doing it. I had a great time doing it. We played some awesome shows that we probably didn't deserve to be on, but just because everyone liked us, we got thrown on them.
That's so cool. Who was all in that band?
We had a few. We had a few different lineups. Yeah. The core members would have been myself, Nick Cutchway, and Derek Daniel.
Okay.
That we were the three that kind of like wrote them pretty much everything.
Mhm.
And then Brad Walker was in it near the end. He played bass. Before that was Kyle Grissom, West Michigan kid from Muskegon. He played with us for a couple years. A lot of our out of state stuff, I think, was actually with Kyle, or not out of state stuff, but I guess out of town, like us playing Saginaw and stuff like that. Most of the time, we were just a four piece. We had a slew of bass players. Lee Dolan was actually in the band. Our first show, we weren't a straight edge band.
God,
here's the kind of fucked up thing was Retribution was originally not a straight edge band. We became a straight edge band after Lee was out of the band. But yeah, when we started, 4 out of the 5 of us were straight edge. Lee was not. He might have been a little bit too inebriated at a couple of the shows. To the point, I think I hope he doesn't think I'm speaking towards him derogatory. Hopefully he enjoys the story. But there was one show in particular we actually played. Do you remember when Mo used to have the Black Christmas shows?
Yeah.
We played the very first one.
Okay.
Which it wasn't in the theater. It wasn't like Hollow. It's the entire complex.
It's upstairs and downstairs.
It was just the stick.
Oh, okay.
It was us, Loud and Bombs, Nightbringer, which is Lenny's other band, Living Like Ghost. I can't remember who else. But Lee, I think, was pretty hammered to the point where he was having trouble tuning his bass.
Oh my!
He was definitely having problems. And I think to the point where like it didn't bother me. I just wanted to play the set. But I'm pretty sure Nick and Derek were a little annoyed.
Yeah. I love you, Lee. Everybody loves you.
I think Lee didn't even have a tuner on him. I think he had the borrow one from Living Like Ghosts. I think Corey Boland from Living Like Ghosts, with their guitar player, he was the only one from that band who hadn't packed his gear away. Just so Lee could use his tuner, brought out his entire pedal board.
Oh,
and gave it to Lee just to use the tuner. That's all Lee needed to, because Lee didn't have his own for a reason. But still, Lee was having some issues. That was probably the roughest set we ever played. Like we had a few others that were pretty rough as well, where things just weren't clicking. But that's probably the roughest one we've had for sure.
Thanks, Lee.
Yeah. It didn't help that like Nightbringer earlier that night like kicked our asses. Like I think they were the best band that night. Them and Loud and Bombs. And Nightbringer I think went very underappreciated. Especially for it being a Lenny band. I think maybe because like people are so used to like either Poison Tongues or Earth Mover Lenny that they wanted something like that, and this was more in a punk kind of style.
I barely remember that band. That must have been like when I was sort of like veering off.
This was like they were around.
I know the name, but
like 2008, 2007, 2008 to like maybe 11, 12, somewhere in there.
I was still going to shows, and I don't know.
Because Lenny wasn't the original frontman for it. It was Andy Demps, who was also an Earth Mover, played guitar.
No
I think when Nightbringer first started, I think Andy was playing guitar and singing, and then Lenny joined them and started fronting them instead. But definitely very underappreciated. I just don't think like maybe a lot of younger kids were into a band like that, especially if you say members of Earth Mover and then they see a band that's like more straight up punk.
Oh
That
yeah,
Nightbringer kind of was.
yeah. Didn't say for fans of.
Yeah,
Said
no,
just members of.
that's the thing exactly. But they also I don't think ever went out of their way to advertise like the whole Earth Mover thing either. I don't know if that maybe them just want to. I wouldn't say distance himself, maybe because it was very different.
It's not an associated act.
Yeah, exactly.
It's different music.
But I still think they deserve a ton of recognition. Hopefully, I don't know if that it'd be cool if that stuff ever made it onto the internet or anything like that. I know they put out a few 7-inches, I think a couple splits, but definitely underappreciated. They kicked our asses that night, 100% sure. And that's actually the night that I actually met Lenny and became friends with Lenny.
Oh, no
was at
shit.
that show. And it was weird because it's kind of like an idol worship thing because like even though to that point I had never seen Earth Mover before, I had listened to Earth Mover pretty religiously.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool that like, all right, I mean, even though I'm not playing a show with Earth Mover, I'm at least playing a show with those guys. But before like the show, I was kind of scared of Lenny in a way. I don't know what it was where I didn't want to come off like some young idiot. And yeah, I wasn't even that young at this point. I was 26. But I didn't want to like come off as some like stupid fanboy or something like that.
Yeah, like, hey,
but
man.
then Lenny like congratulated us on our sets, told us that he loved us, and immediately him and I clicked. And he actually started booking us on shows like the following summer and stuff in the shelter. He did that Fight Like Hell series of shows,
Yeah,
and everything like that. And he I can't remember. I think he booked us. We played one of the Alliance's record release show when they did that Hit 'Em Up record.
that was was it the Modern or was
Shelter.
It the Shelter? Okay.
That was at the Shelter. Was the Hit 'Em Up record? Maybe it wasn't the Hit 'Em Up record release. So maybe just a reunion. Hit 'Em Up. Maybe the Hit 'Em Up record release was at the Modern. Now I'm getting my shows confused because I know we played with them at the Shelter.
Well, Earth Mover did a reunion there too, right?
That was at the end of 2010.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. And was it Tyrant and Earth Mover or something like that?
Tyrant, Earth Mover, and I'm trying to remember the bands that were in the middle of that lineup.
I don't remember. I don't even think I went because I've never seen Earth Mover. They had 2 reunions and I've fucking missed both of them.
The other one was they played More City Fest
Yeah.
the one year. That though the first show I think was better. I went to both. Just because they played the longer set. I think the More City Fest show was a lot shorter. Like because they weren't headlining or whatever.
Yeah.
Cold as Life headlined. So it felt like a bit of a tease. Like they went and maybe they just kind of ran through the set so quick that like I felt like personally I didn't have a time to like really enjoy it the way I did when they played the show in 2010. That'd be, I think I would love to see that kind of reunion again. That'd be, if it ever the stars align.
Yeah.
There's
only one factor to stop that from happening. I tried, so there's only one. And Mike Hasty had to say yes.
Yeah.
It's like,
yep.
Get him to say yeah, and we'll do it. And he said, not a chance.
I figured that he's probably the lone holdout.
Not a chance. I was like, well, I tried. Yeah. Because I asked him, because I did that Shattered Realm show, and I was like, I want a fucking banger of a show. I was like, the Joe Hardcore said he'd fucking come here. I was like, what other banger bands can I get? And then it just turned into bands from all over the place. Ended up playing.
Yeah. I was kind of bummed I missed that show. Like now I'm trying to remember why I missed that show.
It was on a Sunday.
Oh, that's probably what it was. No, I probably had other commitments and I had to go to bed way too early.
Yeah, dude. I took the next day off because I go to bed at 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. I was like, it's on a Sunday. I got to take that fucking Monday.
Who else played that show? Did MHKS play that show?
No, the guitarist, his other band, Sector from Chicago.
Okay.
They played Raw Life from New Jersey.
Okay. Well, Raw Life was kind of like on the little package that Shattered Realm took out with them.
Yeah. It was Raw Life, Shattered Realm. There's like 8 fucking, like way too many bands played that show. That was my first time I ever booked the show. I was like, this would be cool. This is a nightmare. Trying to put that, whatever, Shattered Realm, MHK. No, fuck. I don't even remember, dude. I don't
Yeah,
have the
the
flyer over here. Or no, it's over
poster.
here. Shattered Realm, Sector, Raw Life, Enemy of God, Missing Link from Long Island. They're heavy as
Okay.
fuck. D Block and the Street Struck. They came with Raw Life because they're from
Okay.
Altoona, Pennsylvania, and this Raw Life and Sector from Chicago had put out a split like a few months before, so they went to Chicago the night before, and then they came to Detroit.
Okay.
Like backtracked to Detroit because it was like a split release, like
Okay.
a
Yeah.
weekend, and it was fucking fun. But I was kind of sad because it was on a Sunday, but I still thought for some reason I was like, there'll be a lot of people here for sure, and it wasn't.
I think a lot of people are kind of,
It's the
especially
old folks are like,
well, no,
nah.
it's like anyone that would be. I don't think a lot of younger kids are into like shared realm. I think that's where so anyone that could stay out late.
Yeah, like I just
Well, then
assumed
that,
everybody
yeah.
loved him still, like I did.
Well, no, and that's one of those things, and like a lot of anyone that would normally might have come up and like, well, there's 8 bands on, or was it 7 bands or whatever?
Yeah, separate bands.
This is gonna go past midnight, or whatever, and I'm gonna stay
I tried
home.
having like a matinee, like a 2 p.m. show. Like I pushed for it, but Maxwell's like, it's like, nah, people probably won't receive that well. I was like, I thought it'd be
No, I think people would be. I think it'd be great.
Like, are you serious? Sunday afternoon would be awesome.
No, I think I would love if personally I would love it if people did more of those. Ramona did a couple of those like around like 2011. She had a few of them at remember when the Magic, I don't know if you remember when before they renovated the Magic Stick, they had the lounge area,
Yeah,
like a smaller stage.
Yep.
She did a Harm's Way show there.
Oh,
it was 3 p.m. on a Saturday, and it was awesome.
Yeah, how fun would that be?
It was fantastic. Like the show was done by like 7-8 o'clock, and then like we still stayed at the Stick. Like we went down as soon as the show was over, and we bowled for a little bit, and then I still had the whole rest of the night. I really wish like it doesn't have to be like a 2 p.m. start. That might be a little bit early, but 3 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
On Sunday, especially when it's that many bands, it's like sure, why not?
Yeah, because everybody can be out by 8, 9.
Yeah,
at the latest.
That's the thing. Like I would bet that for sure if that was the case. If it was a matinee show, then I would.
I pushed for it, but maybe it could have been maybe more people drink at night. It might have been a better idea to have a bar. But it's like there's still 70 people there, which I don't consider a lot. In the sanctuary, that's
no, it's a 300 cap venue.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, it's like a third of fucking capacity. And I was like, this sucks. And all these bands are from out of town, and I got to make sure they can get home.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it was a bad experience, but I learned.
And that's the thing is like I feel like anyone that puts on, I think people that book shows, kind of like to do the Lord's work because I've known so many people that have book shows. I've never done it myself, but it sounds like one of those things where it's like high risk, low reward. Like, yeah, you're involved with like, the business or something in it, and you're responsible for other people having a good time, but you might not have a good time yourself.
There's no pat on the back for
it. How stressed you are, and even the monetary gain most of the time is very little. It takes a lot to even break even. Usually everything is at a loss.
Yeah. You got to go to the ATM. Just say that.
You have to go
to the ATM. Bands
have guarantees, especially, touring bands that are on packages. Some of them have riders. I totally get why any promoter is completely stressed out, and it's definitely something that is taken for granted. I think by like a lot of people that go to shows, that I don't think people realize how much actually goes into it. It's not just like calling up this band or the band emailing you and just being like, "Hey, can you do this?" and everything's flowers. It's
the daily correspondence.
Yeah, load-in times, directions. Is the venue going to take a percentage of the merch? Any, there's, all sorts of things that have to be ironed out, and and that's why, like, going back to someone like Ramona, she did so much for for such a long time that I don't think people really think about like or give credit to how much work she's done, and not just her, but anybody else that local that has promoted shows for years
Chris
and years.
Spear, your buddy.
Chris Spear did for years and years.
Booking, I remember that shit.
Even after he started running stuff and was Ramona's assistant, he took on a lot of the load himself. Chris Sommerfeld, who used to run Stack Age, he did a lot. Maxwell now.
He owned that place.
Yeah, Chris
Oh,
owned
okay,
it.
that's what I
Yep.
thought. Yeah, that place is cool. Yeah, Maxwell with both sanctuaries. Was there anything before that? Or was,
His house. He had two houses. He
oh
had
no
the
shit.
shows that he had the halfway. He had the halfway house first, which was the first like punk house they
Oh,
had.
okay, I didn't know that.
Uh,
I heard of that place, but I didn't know that was his.
uh, there wasn't a ton of big shows as I think mostly local stuff. I know Weekend Nachos might play there a few times. He had bigger stuff at the house he moved to after that. He had what was called Yonka House because it was on Yonka Street. It was over by like the Michigan State Fairgrounds, like a little bit off of 8 Mile. Retribution played there a couple times. Weekend Nachos played there. The Banner and Mongoloids played there. That show was fun. It had the staircase was fucking terrifying and sucked to take gear down.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, like the area he had carved out in the basement was like a perfect rectangle.
Oh shit.
So yeah, it had just enough like room where stuff would feel comfortable, and then it had like a little side area where like was like the laundry area, but people would like sit in that area, or and sometimes even bands would like use that area to put their merch in as well. If not, a lot of times merch would either be in the kitchen, or if shows were in the summer, people would have their merch stands right outside Maxwell's garage
Oh my
instead.
god.
I remember when the Banner played there, the Mongoloids had big giant tables right outside Maxwell's garage because it was like the middle of summer or whatever. And then I think he wanted to expand, so he was just like, all right, I'm gonna get my own spot. So then we had the first sanctuary, and then there was a second sanctuary. There's actually been three. There was a second one that didn't last long because there's some zoning issue or something. So he ended up going back to the first location,
Jesus
ran
Christ.
that for however long, and then moved to what used to be Paychecks, which is now the current sanctuary.
He's a saint, huh?
Oh yeah, and not only that, like here, Maxwell should be commended as well. Talking about more promoters, Maxwell isn't even a Detroit native. Maxwell's from Iowa.
Is that where he's from? I knew
yeah.
he wasn't from here, but I didn't know.
But from the moment he's set foot in our area, he's been Detroit 100%. Even though he wasn't from here, he's definitely taken the reins as far as like booking bands, recording with bands, being in bands, the whole nine. Like it's been nonstop, like to the point where like he had a different job. He was trying to promote shows while still having like a 9 to 5 job and everything.
Fuck.
But quit that to once he purchased Paychecks, and now it's what it is, and he's been able to bring bigger and bigger stuff here, and the bar seems like it's doing good even after all the money he lost out because of the pandemic and everything like that. It's good to see that place is thriving, and if that's the first place that has felt like home as far as like a hardcore venue in quite a while.
I agree, man. That place, like, it's cool because so the door people and security and people who work behind their bar, they're all like into the scene, so it's not like a corporate fucking place. Everybody, high five the fucking.
It's all like
and
punk, metal, and hardcore kids.
Good times, man. Like, I don't think there's a better venue. The way it's like set up and shit with the stage and the bar area, it all. Have you been there when they don't use the big stage? Like,
no, I know he was having like there's a couple times where he's had that little like put together like little small stage that he's done in the bar area a couple times. I haven't been to one of those shows, but it looks cool.
It's fun, man.
Well, especially if a band's not gonna draw like super well. If a band's not gonna do more than like 100 people, make it more intimate. Why not? Why
you pack it in?
No reason to have like a big 300 cap space if like it's a relatively smaller band and they're only gonna play in front of like 100 150 people anyways.
Yeah, it's fun. I seen who the fuck was it? It was Enemy of God, In Cold Blood, and like Annie Up and shit. They all.
Oh, that was on the small stage.
Yeah, man, it was fucking wild.
See, one of those shows that I really
nobody's safe. You're like fucked. Like can't go anywhere.
One of those shows that I really was bummed that I missed, but I had to because of like just work life, and I get up at 4:00 in the morning. So like going to shows during the week or even on some weekends, depending on how my schedule is, it just not feasible. I do if a band I really 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 love is in town, then I might sacrifice the sleep, but it gets harder and harder as time goes on to do that stuff, like it's getting harder and harder to wake up. I remember being
it's
in.
not worth it. I've seen them 2 times.
Well, no,
5 times.
not that. It's just like, all right, I've seen this band a million times, but it's also like knowing if a band's playing a certain venue,
Oh,
and the show's gonna go to midnight, and I gotta be at work at 4. That's like a no go for me.
yeah. You know what sucks is fucking got me thinking of upcoming shows. Scarhead fucking playing in Toledo on like a Thursday in I think in April or March. I'm like, motherfucker, with D Block and Scarhead's coming out with some band. I don't even know.
I think, are they coming up with like a rapper or something like that? I think
He's like a rap, like, yeah.
Okay,
Fuck.
which is part. I mean, it's Scarhead. Like that's a pretty common thing. When,
Yeah.
like, so considering like Dan or Danny Diablo, he
Whatever.
obviously raps.
Ugh, terrible rap. I love Scarhead.
I'm not gonna pass judgment. I've only listened to like I think one song. I don't remember what it sounded like.
To me, I mean, look, people love it, but me, I'm like, oh, I'd rather just listen to Scarhead than old Scarhead, the Kings at Crime Scarhead.
Oh, that record's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit more of a Crown of Thorns fan personally,
Okay.
but I like both those bands are amazing.
He's truly an artist, though. He's not.
Well, yeah,
just a
to have his hands in so many different like facets of music, like he's not just a hardcore guy or a hip hop guy or whatever. He's very evenly spread out in all those worlds, which is pretty awesome.
He's a crazy person.
Yeah.
I follow him on Instagram. He's always like out walking his dog and like 4 a.m. He's like crazy people. He's like, yeah, I'm in the park. I'm like, Jesus Christ, why are you in the park? He's like, oh, this is your hometown. That's what you do. You're some fucking Queen, like running Queens at 4 a.m. I'm like, you're so scary, Danny.
And probably a neighborhood that would scare like any one of us or something that if we were doing it.
Yeah. Did you? Well, actually, weren't there? There's maybe 30 people where there was December of 2019. Scarhead played at the Sanctuary.
No, I missed that.
Yeah, with a fucking thrash band. I forgot who it was. Is not the same singer. Wasn't fucking DRI for sure. It wasn't. But it was in New Jersey. They do that song, Captain Crunch. A bunch of Captain Crunch. It's a weird fucking thrash band.
Was this at the Outer Drive Sanctuary?
No. The one
in Hamtramck.
I gotta find the name of this band right now.
I'm trying to remember this show
Captain
because
Crunch.
the last time I remember Scarhead even playing close here, they played the Token Lounge. In like 2012, Retribution played that show.
Yeah, MOD. What the fuck does
okay, I remember that show now.
I forgot what that means. MOD is something of
Milano Destruction, Billy Milano, the singer.
Yeah. He wasn't the singer of the band. A lot of people were mad.
Oh, it was a fill-in. They didn't have it with Billy.
No, it's this dude from Milwaukee. He runs whatever record label Danny Diablo's on now.
No shit.
It's not even a fill-in. Like people were like talking shit. I'm not going to see that. It's not fucking MOD. It's because like it's all the other band except the singer. But I guess like the band is.
Yeah, the band is Billy Milano. That's how I've always understood it.
Yeah. So
well, that's weird.
So a lot of people were mad. Like, people talking shit online, whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just want to see Scarred because of I've never seen them before. And there were like 20 people there, and like Bird from like C2IC. Like he was like the only like I was like, there's no hardcore people here. I was like, this is fucking strange. It was Ralph and Bird and like me and my brother-in-law.
So all the people that you would probably expect to be at this show.
Yeah, they were, dude. It was on like a Friday or
Okay.
Saturday. It was a good night. I was like, why the fuck?
I think Scarhead's one of those bands that like they're very outside New York. They're kind of like a niche thing where like you might have select groups of people on it, but I don't think you've ever been like. Maybe back in the day they might have been, but I think now you don't have a mass amount of people be like all for Scarhead. I think a lot more people are more so in the Crown of Thorns, especially with how you're starting to see a lot more bands kind of have Crown of Thorns influence. So I think that's a little bit more direct.
Yeah.
But
and maybe Scar like sort of like ran its course.
Maybe
I don't think so because I'm excited when they come back. I think, try to go see them.
And that's one of those things. Is like I've seen it a bunch of times, and I understand why I would be excited for them, but at the same time, I can get why someone who is
so ignorant.
no, not ignorant, but well, someone who might be 10 years younger than me, why that band wouldn't appeal to them. Like, I completely understand that. Like, there's people like that are my age or older than me that Scarhead has never appealed to. So they're very much like, kind of like a neat, like they're one of those things where even though I might like them, I totally get why the masses don't.
Sure. It's just weird because, I've been waiting all these years still. Like, I only seen it in like 2019. I was like, they fucking never comes. Like, Death Threat has never been here besides me one time. They played at Static Age, as far as I know, in the past for 20 years.
The last time they played Detroit before then was maybe 03 at the Shelter or Madball.
Yeah.
I can't think of a show that happened in between those two shows.
Yeah, and that was before my time. Like, so
because I've probably seen Death Threat 10 times,
dude, my favorite
but at least 6 or 7 of those times were out of state.
Yeah, I seen one time, and that was this past December in that Keystone Holiday Jam.
Oh, okay, they played it this year?
Yeah, yeah, cool. I went, and that was
the last few lineups for that festival have looked awesome, and I hate that, like, because it's always around Christmas that like I can never. There's like family stuff and holiday stuff that I can never
I just can't really afford it at that time.
Yeah, schedule the time to like go to that. I would love to go to that fest one of these years.
Yeah, even like FYA is kind of a fucked up time. It's literally like
it's New Year's. Christmas. It's New Year's.
It's like fuck, dude. Like everyone's still on break, or like just going back, or like the weekend before everybody goes back to work and shit. I'm like motherfucker.
Well, that's the thing because like my where I work at has a 2-week shutdown for New Year's and Christmas. So when FYA happens, we just went back. I can't afford to take another weekend off. I can't afford to take another weekend off work to go be an idiot to a bunch of hardcore bands.
Worth it. I'm going next year. I don't give a fuck. Make it happen because of this shit.
No, watch the lineup be like absolute garbage. It won't be, but just to fuck over Rob Parker.
Exactly.
The lineup's gonna be absolute garbage.
It's my life story. I'm going to LDB. I'm excited in Kentucky.
Are you? I slept on it. I still haven't been to that fest either. I kind of wanted to, and then I just kind of forgot about tickets going on sale.
They're gone in
they were gone like what? Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucked up. And then they did like a second, set tier, I guess. I don't know how many more tickets they released, but I was on like a waiting list.
Oh no shit.
Yeah. So I was able to get a couple weekend passes, and
that's crazy how big that fest has gotten.
It's enormous. Hate 5-6 is coming out to film it. Shout out to Sonny. Fuck yeah.
Which that's cool that Sonny is like instead of it just obviously like Hate 5-6 was mainly like a Philly thing, but now it's gotten to the point where he's going out and just documenting every big show across the country. It's fucking nuts that like that the channel has gotten so big that dude it's popping up everywhere.
Yeah, and it's all paid for by the users too, So that's cool. I'm glad he's able to do it because there's really nothing of the sort. It's popping up here and there, and it's like regional areas, but he went to Australia with Knocked Loose, like in Japan. I think he
did Japan. He did the Jesus piece. Played some fest in Japan, and he filmed that set too.
Crazy. And without him, who knows? It could be on someone's cell phone.
I'm sad that we didn't have a Sonny in Detroit in the early mid 2000s.
Oh yeah.
I'm really bummed because it's like how much cool shit did you and I get to see that wasn't properly documented? Like not even like photographers, like. Definitely no one shooting with a video camera because we were all too busy moshing.
Yeah.
That no one thought to like document, these moments in time and everything. And that's why like I get stoked when I see like some, even though it might have been before my time, I get to see some grainy 20-year-old VHS footage of like Coldest Life at St. Andrews or at the Stick, Earth Mover at the Stick, anything like that. I think that's cool. I wish I would have had some foresight to think like maybe I should go get a video camera, buy a video camera and start filming some of the stuff. Just so there would have been like some kind of proper documentation, especially with like, I don't think anyone had any idea how prevalent something like YouTube was going to be how easy it is to document stuff like that.
It just wasn't in the sights of anybody.
Yep.
Like, it's like fucking like camcorders are $500. Hey, you gotta, whatever. Someone's got to carry around a fucking thing like back in the day.
But at the same time, now it seems like it would have been worth the investment.
Hell yeah.
Because think about like all the cool shit that like we could have gone back and watched. And like, yeah, you might see like random like single clips here and there, but you don't see like fully laid out like full sets the way that Sonny.
Multicam.
Yeah,
High
exactly.
def. Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. But fucking props to him. He came to Detroit, did that Never Ending Game, ended show and shit like that.
Yeah, he did a little run out here because he did a couple shows in Detroit and I think a couple shows in Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
He was here like 3 or 4 days, something like that.
Yeah, Kubla Khan.
Yeah, the Sanctuary. Yeah. That's pretty cool, and it's like it's cool that like he's gotten to the point where his shit is so big that he can just kind of go wherever, and like everything is getting documented.
Yeah, everybody loves it. Whoever supports him, whatever on his Patreon or whatever. That's
which I full disclosure, I feel like a piece of shit because I haven't subscribed to it, and I think if next time Sonny comes to film a show in Detroit, I'm just gonna hand him $50. I'm like, this is the money I owe you because I haven't subscribed yet.
I have.
It'll be such a weird encounter because I'm not gonna introduce myself. I'm just gonna straight up slip a 50 to him and be like, "Hey, this is all for all the hours that I've watched footage, all your footage on YouTube."
Oh my god, his arms up in the air for fucking 10 hours at fast. Like, Jesus Christ.
I'm surprised that shit hasn't broken off yet. Like the dude just stands like this for hours on end.
Yeah, man, I'm surprised. Like a lot of people have like a stick with like the camera on it and shit, but he's a fucking soldier.
Well, no, the fact that he probably does it through a fair amount of bands that he probably doesn't give a shit about, that he doesn't really like as well, but he knows other people might enjoy.
Sure.
Like that's a service. That's a service that, you know, it takes a strong-willed person to provide for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, fucking props to him because without him, there'd be a lot of shit that was missed. There's a lot of stuff he documented, but it's good for him to go around and catch all the big fests, all the big bands, because I mean, it's interesting, and for generations to come, it'll just be available for like, oh my god, like 20 years from now, whoever wants to see, excuse me, like their Terror or fucking like with No Pressure or like that, or End It, dude, all those bands, it's all. Well, there's days and days, there's hours of them recording.
I think that's also a cool thing. I like more like, I guess, the retro or like older footage stuff. The fact that people will send in that happen to have old footage but don't know how to clean it up or edit it.
Yeah.
Have started sending it into Sonny for him to restore it. And he's done a great job with that. Like, I remember I went to Hellfest 2004 and, you know, there was cameras there filming it for DVD. And then we found out, all right, High Roller Studios, the place that was recording it, they were going to go out of business. The DVD was never going to see the light of day and all that stuff. But they ended up giving the footage to Sonny, and he's put out, I don't think he's put out the entire fest, but what he has, he's put out a good amount of stuff that a lot of people thought was completely lost, that we were never going to see the light of day.
That's crazy, man. Was that the Bad Luck 13 show?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Riot?
That before Sonny started cleaning up like the stuff that High Roller sent them, I think that was the only thing that had like a proper release.
Yeah, it's like 8 or 10 minutes though. It's like
well, Bad Luck 13 had their own DVD, so their set, instead of being on the what was, I think it might be one of the last things High Roller actually put out. Bad Luck 13 had like a documentary DVD, and one of the bonus features was the entire Hellfest set. And that was like the one little thing that kind of snuck out of from footage from that set. I was there for that. It was fucking nuts. The thing is, this is funny though, as crazy as that set was for anyone that was there, I'm sure if you were, I mean, I don't know him personally, but I could imagine if you asked Joe Hardcore, he would probably consider that set kind of tame compared to like the crazy shit they used to do in Philly.
Oh yeah.
Like when he was booking them when he was like 14, 15 years old, whatever. Like Hellfest was nuts for anyone that had never experienced Bad Luck 13. For anyone from Philadelphia that was going to shows in the early 2000s, late 90s, that was par for the course.
Every day,
that was an everything thing. And I think that was kind of like part of the spectacle. It was like enough people knew how stupid it was going to get and how insane it was going to be. And kind of it was kind of like watching a car crash. And so you went in there wanting to see a train wreck. But then I know there's a lot of people that saw it and were taken aback by the sheer insanity of it.
Yeah, it's a fire extinguishers and light bulbs.
Yeah, here's what I think, and I don't mean to be talking shit if I am talking shit like this. I just don't understand how people blame that for like Hellfest either getting shut down or because of Hellfest not being able to, how Hellfest got canceled last minute the following year
Yeah.
because of the Bad Luck 13 set the year prior. They put Bad Luck 13 on last on the stage they played, even though they were nowhere near as big as a lot of the bands that they had played earlier in the day.
Yeah.
Like if you went by popularity, they would probably played somewhere in the middle of the day. I don't. You can't tell me that they didn't put them on last because they knew how fucking nuts it was going to be.
You were
100%.
So wow, how close were you to this shit?
I'm in the DVD.
Oh,
if you go through it, there's a shot of me. I'm wearing a blue Madball jersey, with red letters. I'm standing. If you're have a view of the stage, I would be to what kind of like the left of the stage. Because they had like their friends that were in like pro wrestling and stuff and would go in and like hit people with light tubes in the crowd and shit like that.
Yeah.
One of the guys comes barreling towards me and you see me jump about 10 feet back because this dude's just bloodied and fucked up and
glass
and taking people out and trash cans are getting thrown and like I didn't partake in any of the madness myself because I'm a fucking coward. But it was definitely a spectacle. And I'm definitely glad I was there for it. I don't know if this part made it onto the footage, but there's that one point because the area where they were playing it was like how Taylor Sportsplex is, how you have like soccer fields and a basketball court or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Their area was a basketball court with 2 sets of bleachers. Some of the whatever guys were with them, I don't know if it's Philly dudes or what, they cleared out a whole section of the bleachers and flipped the bleachers on its side. And these were big ass steel bleachers, but they flipped it on its side and started spinning it. It was fucking madness.
Dude, because there is a video of that. I don't know if it's off the DVD or somebody had like a separate video recorder, but there is that because you see him flip it over. It starts like getting pushed. And then like security, you see like security guys like they can't do anything about it. They got a broom sweeping.
Security
like,
and that whoever was doing sound had no idea what was about to happen to them. Like, I think the guys that promoted Hellfest might have fucked them in a way by like not getting them cluing in like, oh hey, this is going to get fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't. I don't think it ended up being no because they played this hardcore. It was being advertised as like one of Bad Luck's last shows, and that show was Elizabeth. It's like kind of like across the river from New York, but it's still only about like a 2-hour drive from Philly.
Okay.
So everyone from Philly to drive up there, not a far drive. It's like us going to Grand Rapids. So you had all the Philly kids, anyone else from around the country, people from around the world, all losing their shit to Bad Luck. It was a spectacle to say the least. Like I can't remember who I skipped out. There was someone else that was playing another bigger band was playing on like one of the main stages the same time as them, but like even though I wasn't as big into Bad Luck, I was just like, I have to see this just for how insane it's going to be.
Yeah, fuck yeah! Even like Tyrant shows that couldn't touch it. Sometimes
there was a few. The very first Tyrant show was fucking nuts.
I wasn't there.
I think their very first one was at Alvin's. I want to say Suffocate Faster played up here too. There wasn't a shit ton of people there. There was, a fair amount for an Alvin's show. Like, what was Alvin's cap? Like 300, 400?
I have no idea. Probably less than 400.
There was maybe about like 100 people there. So not a ton of people, but there was a good enough people there to like, that were pretty much going crazy the entire time. Tyrant starts. They haven't actually even started their song. It's just feedback. Dave Hayes already threw out a mic stand at the crowd. that set the pace of what was to come as far as like Tyrant shows. Yeah.
Oh God.
That kind of set the standard, and from there on, anytime we saw them, it'd just be nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even mosh for them. Like, it was just all the older, the Courage Crew.
Well, no, that's the thing. Sometimes it was just a fun thing to watch.
Yeah.
Like, not even to like participate in, but just like it was enough of like a spectacle and an event to just kind of like take in, you know?
Oh yeah, it was amazing, and that was like that's pretty new, maybe like a year or two in still, and it's like I was like, for Tyrant, like they look scary, Dave with the X on his face, and his throat tattooed, a little fucking pit bull gun on the hip sometimes. Like, holy shit! Like, and then you hear about Courage
Probably
Crew. They're
most
like a
of the
myth,
time, yeah.
like a mysterious, scary group of guys. But obviously, there's regular dudes who just,
Yeah.
everyone goes crazy every now and then, But,
see, I kind of like this because I think it was cool that like a lot whenever shows like that would happen, especially like if Suffocate Faster got brought up, they'd bring up like a million people from Dayton and Cincinnati with them, and it'd be just as it would be like kind of a huge event. And or when Tyrant would go down there and play there and play in Dayton and Cincinnati, it would be those shows would be pretty cool as well. On the opposite side of things, and I always thought those shows were really fun, even though they might have gotten people. A lot of people probably these days would probably think a lot of that shit was way out of hand.
Oh yeah, it's totally inappropriate.
But no, I mean, I thought they were fun, and that's one of those things where you don't think about how insane a lot of that shit is as happening. But thinking back, like I'm almost 40 now, and I'm thinking back at some of that stuff. I'm just like, man, some of that shit was actually pretty insane. To any normal human being, they would think we're all fucking mental.
Oh yeah. Right, if you took a coworker or someone from HR,
someone
from HR to a fucking Tyrant show, you're like, what is wrong with you, you fucking psycho?
And that's the thing. Like my Retribution was nowhere near as scary as a band like Tyrant, but I'm sure if I showed any of my coworkers or my bosses like footage of a Retribution show from 10 years ago, they'd be like, "What the fuck?
Are you crazy, Kenny?"
They would probably think like I need to be locked up.
But that's a good thing about it, and it's still fun. It's still wild. Like, we got a little taste of Tyrant back in October when I Let It Die did that reunion. When Enemy of God did
when
Deviant and John.
Yeah, that's great. That show, like the Let It Die reunion was awesome and everything. But I think one of the things, which I hope it might just be my perception, but one of the things that I loved about that show is how it was kind of half and half, where you had 4 older bands and 4 really newer bands. And I think it's cool because the newer bands on there are doing some cool things right now.
Yeah.
D Block's awesome. Enemy of God's awesome. Iron Knife's awesome. Who's the other younger band that played that show?
Big Deal.
The Big Deal. Okay.
Yeah. And Joe couldn't even sing for them either because he got COVID.
COVID. And Marcos had to sing for him. That's right. But I think all those bands and like most of those dudes are significantly younger than me. Not all of them. I think the only one that's like somewhat closer than I'm trying to think who's even close. Rich is only a few years younger than me.
Yeah, that's about it.
But just even being, I guess, newer bands has me very excited for like Detroit hardcore and stuff like that. And I hope all those bands like keep doing bigger and bigger things. And you see D Block's doing shows out of the state, fairly often now. They go to Pennsylvania all the time.
They're headlining in Massachusetts. I don't know.
I saw that flyer. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
like already they're doing like a headline gig out of state, like fairly out of state, not just like Ohio. It's fucking Massachusetts. That's fucking sick.
12 hours away, 15 hours away.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But yeah, and that's one of those. I really, it's D Block in particular. I really like because I feel like a lot of kids were getting burnt out on like beatdown bands for a while, because a lot of beatdownish bands were starting to sound the same. And D Block is the first one to me that actually sounds fresh. Like they play that kind of style, but they do it in a way where I can tell what a D Block song is. They're not too derivative of any other band. Like I know what Camden's voice sounds like, and to me, I know what D Block is when they get played. So
I'm excited. Well, we're not reinventing the wheel, but they do have a very distinct sound.
Yeah. That's exactly how I feel. Like it's not reinventing the wheel. It's not something completely new. It is something familiar, but it's something that I feel like when it comes to that type of hardcore, people forgot how to write good songs in that style.
Mm-hmm.
And this is might also be a testament, because I'm assuming Rich writes most of the music. It might be a testament to how good of a songwriter Rich is, because pretty much anything Rich touches his hands on, whether it's something super metal, something hardcore, metalcore, whatever, drums, bass.
Amazing.
That dude, wherever he touches, he seems to turn to gold.
He's very talented. Yeah. I'm proud of him. Proud of that band. Proud of Detroit. Fuck, revving it up, man. Just some things to come now.
Yep.
So I mean, we did about an hour and a half now, so we're gonna wrap it up.
Wrap
Just
it up?
like that.
Okay.
We'll wrap it up. Thank you, and I mean, we can do it again. Great conversation. I can go
Yeah,
for another hour.
honestly, what I think would be a cool idea is if we had like a little round table
Hell
or
yeah.
something. Like get Barella in here, Lenny maybe. I think that'd be cool. Like we had like
Sure.
a bigger group thing. Like I think that'd
Mhm.
be a cool thing, and just have like shoot the shit kind of
totally
discussion.
Down for it. I'm just here enjoying it too. Like this is for me to watch. You know, have the conversation.
Yeah.
Hear other perspectives.
Well, and that's the thing is, just like I can always speak on my perception and my perspective about a lot of things. I would love to have like memory lane kind of talk with even like more people and stuff like that.
Yeah. And even if nobody listens, we get to talk.
Well, no,
about
yeah,
it.
it'd be fun for us.
We're so selfish about it. I'm like, this is for me. What are you talking about? Cool. Thanks.
Yep.
I just gotta run upstairs really, really fast.